thing up. We gotta get this thing going. We gotta fire this thing right up. I said, slow, slow computer. Come on, working with me. Slow, slow computer. Wake your ass up and come on. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and how are we doing? Welcome to Edwardian France, or I guess you could call it the years before Elizabethan France, which is not the era in which we talk about French history. That's, English stuff, but I speak English, so we're talking about it that way. Or I guess you could call it Gregorian or Georgian, and that's when the heads started to roll, right in that period of that map right there. But we'll be having no heads roll today. We may have some eggs roll. That's not egg rolls. No, that is eggs delivered by mail. And this just kind of floored me. And guys, I wanted to come out with an episode today, and I had about 9 minutes of it edited. And something that has never happened before, never happened before since I've had this channel happened. And it was that a study came out, and it was not peer reviewed yet. But I was excited about it. So I started doing the research process. I started doing the kind of putting together an outline and notes, collecting all the pictures for it, doing the stuff that you would do to kind of build an episode. And a lot of times I'll do this like a week or two ahead of time. And other times I'll try to in a mad rampage of kind of a bit of mania, honestly. I'll stay up all night and I'll make the episode in 17 hours straight of working from 4 in the afternoon one day till 10 a.m. the next morning or something like that. And honestly, I prefer to work the manic crazy way when I'm excited about something. That's when I think my best stuff comes out, or at least when I do different project legs that way. But it's not good for my health, right? You guys know I got some health problems, and I'm doing a little bit better, but I was going to stream on Tuesday, and then I had basically just hives all over my face, all over my neck and torso, and my eyes were all swollen again under here. It's healing up quickly because of steroids, but I've gotten to the point where I realize I do more damage to my image when people are just flipping through live streams and they say that guy looks like he just woke up in a truck stop for the last 14 years every day. That I do more damage sometimes. And as much as I love all of you who tell me don't worry about what other people think and stuff, honestly, when I'm feeling down and I look down, I just lately I kind of just been slinking away. And for my mental health, it's kind of helped to just check out and not have to face the fact that I feel like crap and I look like crap. So that's just the bare necessities. No, that's just what's been going down in my head. And I thought I'd share that with you. But I was doing research, and the thing that I've never had happen before that happened was I was doing research, and it was on invasive species in the Great Lakes and the lakes and rivers around the Great Lakes. And there was a piece written by one of the professors who was in this journal article that was about to be released in, I believe, the end of January was its official release date. And I had found the article, and it was posted January 22nd or something like that. And this was going to be the first quarterly journal or whatever of, I think it was the ecology of, what was it? The laminar ecology of riparian systems or something like that journal. It's kind of an obscure journal, but it was basically about the layers of water in lakes. So, but I don't remember the exact fancy name they had for that subheading under the Ecology Journal. But anyways, they published this report that I found super interesting, and it basically said that there were these mussels, and you guys probably know them if you live anywhere in the United States or Europe, and they are the zebra mussel and the quagga mussel, and they have made themselves very, very detrimental, harmful, destructive to the Great Lakes. I mean, we're talking literally just to the pipes and the electricity and the underwater cables and docks and things. So just communication infrastructure, right? As well as aquatic, sewer, septic, I guess utilities. Let's call it utilities. Just that alone in the US, they figure that it is $500 million a year to clean them off. And like either the weight of them breaking things or them clogging things or their foot attaching and them causing erosion, rust, and breaks and things in these pipes and in insulation and stuff. And they are a major hassle. And so, I knew they were a hassle, right? But even in Washington state, they figured that if they entered the Columbia River, and this was a scare years ago because at a Petco store, somebody had Marimo moss balls, those little fuzzy green algae balls that I never really liked those things that much. But, ironically, Aquatic Arts was one of the first and only places to safely import those, and that's what they got known for. That is the technology that was behind the scenes that got Aquatic Arts big. And I still partner with them. By the way, the codes for my most appreciated channels, the places I go to buy stuff, so Imperial, Tropicals, Moonlight Aquatics, and Aquatic Arts, the discount code affiliate links are down there below. Get yourself at least 10% off at Moonlight, 15% off at Aquatic Arts, and you can get yourself 5% off at Imperial Tropicals. But also I have still been relentlessly saying, hey, can I make that 10% to the user, 5% to me? And so what I was thinking about is that if somebody shows me their receipt, depending on how the payouts work and like what taxes and bank transfer fees. So don't take my word for this yet, but I'm thinking like maybe I could personally reimburse you guys, or we could just put it into like a pot and make that money that would then, like, so far I haven't seen any money from it. So when I see like if, it's $20 extra a month or $40 extra a month or $100 extra a month, it just depends on how much people buy. Then I would be able to then put that in a pot, and we could do giveaways with that like set of money, and I think that would be fun. It might make for a problem in that they want every creator to be equal. But to me, like aquatic, like people like Corey at Aquarium Co-op, he wants to make 10%. He wants the you guys, the users, the buyers, the shoppers, the customers to get only 5% off, and he wants the 10% kickback. And I see like we're from a big company, like obviously you're making the most money possible. That's the thing. You guys, we're like a smaller community, and I want to get back to like doing the giveaways and stuff like that. To be frank, I've been given some gear and stuff lately, but the problem is when I have to ship it to you guys, it costs more than the gear a lot of times, especially like a rimless tank or a filter or something like that. A lot of times it ends up being like crazy amounts of money to ship some of the things. especially if it's livestock or any of that. So, like I said, I wanted to get back to that. And yes, Gary, you are right. Those were algae balls, not technically moss balls. They're a type of algae, and originally they were well known in Japan. And the wave motion, this rocking motion that occurs all day, just gently would turn this algae, kind of like Claudophora algae. I think it's a slightly different exact species, but it would tumble it into these little fuzzy balls. And over time, Japanese Zen rock gardens, Zen Buddhist monks, things like that, they would get together, they would collect them out of there, and they put them in their ponds and their fountains, and they would actually rotate them and roll them, and like it was part of like how you took care of the plant, like you just like you trim like a bonsai or something, you would like roll or rock in a basket these little things, and there were different techniques. Well, that's going way back. Starting in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was the idea that like, well, these are kind of cool. They're green, they're alive, and they grow slowly. Like, what if we just sold them as like ornaments? And so they would sell them in these like glass cylinders. And then they became part of those bio-orb things. If you guys recall those, there was a brand called Bio-Orbs, and they had moss balls or algae balls, but they had these moss balls growing in like a glass either sphere or like a cylinder, and then they'd have like one or two little fish, like something like a killifish, like a least killifish, and maybe a couple shrimp or something in there. And it would be completely sealed, and you didn't have to add food or anything. They'd just pick at the algae. And like the idea was like it's a closed world, right? If you guys remember those, they're like 50 or $100, depending on which one you wanted. And they were big at the malls and stuff in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Well, then later on, people started saying like, oh, we could do things like decorate. Like we could just put a bowl of water and a candle in the center and have those around it, and maybe some leaves or some succulents or air plants or something. So they kind of became used for interior design and that kind of stuff. But then likewise, people started saying, well, can we put them in the aquarium? And they started getting sold specifically by Aquatic Arts for the aquarium. And this was about 12 years ago now, maybe 14 years ago. And they actually had a company where they brought in everything from lotus pods dried out to cattails to poppy pods to baby's breath, anything that was like dried out and or aquatic, like a big cattail, the fuzzy part that's like the brown, where all the seeds will eventually mature if you cut that down, you know, and you put it in like a floral arrangement, or big grasses and things like that. They brought in all that stuff, both fresh and dried, for floral arrangements as like 50%, if not more, of Aquatic Arts when they were early on in business. This is when they were only selling shrimp. And I met them just after that phase, but they still owned that business and they kept it separate. And another person started running that business. But what they would do is they would put the two businesses together and they would order Marimo moss balls. Maybe I should make a little history segment on that. It's kind of an obscure thing that, like, who cares about the history of Marimo moss balls? Nobody probably, but maybe somebody does, and it's not really recorded well. And it's kind of an interesting thing full circle for me because so I saw those things. I see people, and then I see people online buying them from Aquatic Arts, and also people buying those for their shrimp, and they're using them to grow biofilm, and so that the baby shrimp can both kind of hide amongst the algae of those little balls as they get looser and bigger, or they're actually just kind of using them as decorations. Like they're kind of like a little cotton ball of green, and they say like, okay, let's put this on top of like a fake tree, or let's put 4 or 5 of them in an arrangement and like add a coconut shell and a, you know, this or that pod and some dried leaves and call it a day. That's our decoration for our shrimp tank. Well, then around 10 years ago, people started ripping them apart. And instead of keeping them as the actual little mothballs, they would start ripping apart the algae and allowing it to break up and travel all over the aquarium, which they would do over time if you didn't have a balanced older tank. They would become a dominant algae in the tank eventually, but it usually took like a year or two, and you really kind of had to beat them up. They had to grow enough, or fish had to be picking at them. They aren't like a super aggressive grower as far as like attaching to new surfaces. Where like Claudophora is like everywhere, black beard algae everywhere. There's some of those algae that just, the second you break it, it's like 1,000 little fibers of felt, and they just go and attach themselves to things. But those things, the moss balls, as they were called, they started sourcing them from Ukraine and from the Black Sea, and they were able to get them from the Black Sea as well as the I think it was either the Aral or Caspian. I think it's Caspian. And basically there was like a saltwater variety that could still survive in freshwater that was a macroalgae, and then there was also a true freshwater variety. There's also a variety from Africa. There's a variety from Japan. But in Ukraine, they actually figured out, let's bring in the Japanese variety. And on the banks of several mid-sized lakes, they only needed about a 2-kilometer across lake. They could basically fence off a little area, and as long as there was kind of the churning of the lake each day, so the temperature changing up and down in the summer, that would toss these the little balls enough that it would twist and kind of compact them, that motion rolling them over rocks. And so they were bringing all these in from Ukraine, Aquatic Arts was. And they learned early on that the zebra mussel and the quagga mussel were a problem, that those were going to be potential, that even the plankton size little tiny I don't know what they call them, but like dinoflagellates or whatever, like little zooplankton that swim around that stage of the mussels and clams in the area were living in those algae tangles. They were living in biofilms and in like layers of mushy sticks or tangles of plant debris and mulm and stuff. And they were finding, a source of grazing and food in that habitat. And so they figured out a process at Aquatic Arts that I wasn't allowed to tell anyone for years. But it was basically, they would take the mothballs, they would put them into a drying or a washing machine, and it would have, I think it was like a hydrogen peroxide was they didn't tell me even exactly what the mix was, but I think it was hydrogen peroxide and then another bath. So they then put it back in distilled water. Then they put another bath of it in something that ate away any ability of the cell walls of those little proto-clam plankton. It heated them up to 105 degrees, I think was the key. And then it also, the pH dropped down to whatever the algae could handle, which was like 6.4 or something. So if they brought it right to the brink there and right to the brink with the heat, they were able to 100% kill the zebra mussels and quagga mussel zooplankton. And so they already had that system, and they were already doing this with like massive amounts. Like they were doing, I think, 100 to 200 pounds in each load. And they had these industrial washing machine things, and they would do that. And then they would sell them to PetSmart, Petco, all these different places. Well, it wasn't enough. And so Petco, PetSmart, and all these big box stores started selling so many of the Marimo moss balls, and that they wanted an even cheaper price. And they started kind of buying from some of the other former Soviet Union satellite states. So I think it was like Azerbaijan or, Turkmenistan. I don't remember the exact one, but there were several Central Asian countries that had utilized this same kind of idea of just tossing them in a lake, or even in captivity. There's a way to do it too, where you can just roll them in kind of a tumbler, like a washer and dryer type thing, but even simpler, like less energy than that. And just it forms the algae into a ball. Once you go out and pick up a little clot of that, you can just plop it in, and over time it'll tangle up and tighten, kind of like felt does. And so those places, though, were not checking for any of what organisms were hiding. And when you ripped them open all the way to the center and look with a microscope, you'd find that there were up to 9 to 50. Like 9 was the low end in one batch, I recalled, when they had the Fish and Wildlife come in, and they were like, what is going on at Aquatic Arts? And they're like, well, we have some that we haven't washed yet. Would you like us to rip them open and we can take a look, and we'll show you like why we wash these and why it's such an issue? And so they did that. And honestly, they came back about 6 months later after they had said nobody can sell these. So Aquatic Arts luckily had sold off that floral chunk of the company. They had sold that off not even 4 months before a Petco here in Seattle had an employee, and I was at the store. It's the store in Seattle in Ballard. It's actually called Crown Hill. And we were looking at the mothballs, and I had one of the employees that was the lead for the section, who ordered for the section. And she said, it's the darndest thing. I'm getting these little clams and mussels and snails hatching from the mothball tank. And so I was thinking about collecting them and selling them. And she's like, do you know what these are? And I said, you can't do that. And she's like, oh, I can't. And she's like, why is that? And I'm like, well, they're not from they're not snails from your tanks, right? You're getting them from the mothballs or from the plants, like, because they have separate plant, like, end cap kind of things. They have a really bad selection of plants, generally speaking, but I thought they were maybe coming on the plants, maybe in the mothballs. But I said, no, you can't do that unless you know the species and stuff, because, and she was like, oh. So then she went home and, like, filled herself in, did the research, which props to her. And like 2 days later, I go back to Petco and it's closed. The store is completely closed. There is literally the yellow tape on the doors and a sign saying, like, we'll be open again shortly or whatever. And then I hear on the news, and I hear on all these fish sources, and then I get a call from Aquatic Arts that, hey, some of the Ukrainian sourced, or not Ukrainian, but like some of the Central Asian sourced Marmo mothballs had zebra mussel babies in them. So not even like the larval stage, but there were actual miniature, tiny, tiny little shells that had formed, and they were in the mothballs, and some of them had even grown on the tank in Petco. So very quickly they were like, crap, is this in our, could this be like when people get home, do they rinse these things off? Could it go down into our sewer, which then can, like, the gray water can end up in places where, birds could get to it. It could get shared. It could be in a reservoir, whatever. It's just not good. They could get out. They're very, very dangerous as far as an invasive species. And they are super, super stealthy. The other thing about snails, mussels, clams, they're an incredible species that we don't think about much, but they feed by eating the water, right? They're filter feeders, and they filter feed so effectively that they eat whatever's in the water, the silt, the dirt, the gunk, and then they will blow that out through basically a strainer, and they can pass that through them and create a little pile on the ground. They can literally take water in a tank. There's time lapses out there that is so murky and muddy, like it looks like Mississippi River, chocolate milk. And within 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, you'll see that the water goes from that to crystal clear and the mud is no longer in suspension. Well, that whatever that was, mud, silt, silica, quartz, heavy metals, microplastics, creosote, gasoline, I mean, whatever it is, they have a method for getting rid of most of it, but some of it they bioaccumulate. And when they eat it and accumulate it, like especially if it's on, for instance, plankton they're eating. So say they're eating microcrustaceans or they're eating daphnia or seed shrimp or something like ostracods or acellus, gamaris, something that's in the water, they're grabbing small versions of and eating it. And then they break that down to consume it. And when they get rid of the waste product, yes, there is a little pile that then gets distributed along these beds or that gets put onto like the footing of the, depending on which species it is and how it's done it, there's different things. But some of them will store it in their shell or in their body somewhere, like it accumulates in maybe the liver or kidney and then it gets deposited into the shell if it has any minerality. So they're very effective with this. But what it means is that things like heavy metals, things like lead, chromium, the mercury and stuff like that, arsenic, can actually be basically gathered from the trace amount floating in the water, put into the clam or the bivalve, whatever it is, mussel, zebra mussel, clam. And then, one fortunate thing is that if the bivalves, the mussels, in the case of the quagga clam and the quagga and the zebra mussel, they actually are not safe from birds all the way to about 30 feet. So around 10 meters, 12 meters, diving like loons, ducks, pelicans, it depends on where you are in the world, but many things will dive down and eat them. Also, little things like weasels, little things like raccoons will eat them off the rocks on the shore and stuff as well, or off the dock if the water level's low in the summer and things like that. So it's an interesting food source, but what happens then is you get these apex predators or mid-level predators, and you have the fact that these bivalves are cleaning up all that water, and in very polluted regions these bivalves are then actually becoming, like, there may have been in 2 years, imagine all the water that floats by a dock outside Detroit, in a waterway outside Detroit that goes to the Great Lakes, right? Some polluted canal. Well, these mussels, some of them have evolved to survive in really rough conditions, and they are taking that polluted water with cadmium, mercury, like all sorts of terrible stuff, freon, like everything from dissolved gases to different bonded forms of forever PFAS molecules and stuff like that. And they are taking it, and a lot of times if they don't know what to do with it, they just kind of store it in their body. Just like a pearl can hang out and form inside an oyster, there are other, composites that they basically just are like, oh, it's a mineral of some sort, I'll just store it in here. Well, yeah, it can cause cancer, it can cause weird growths in the mussel, but generally it doesn't kill the mussel or the clam before it has a chance to spawn or breed again. So it's not like an extinction level thing. It's not going to kill the invasive species, but that clam that lives 2 years in that waterway has every little tiny micro, every little fleck that it went out and it grabbed and filtered through. It has all the heavy metals that were in that water. So imagine if you drank that water for 2 years straight, just a shot glass every minute or so, what in a machine that sorted all the elements and chemicals, what do you think would show up? And in the case, this happens with things like mushrooms as well, where they build up all the stuff from the soil. And yeah, and exactly, Gary, you have another great point. Gary's had a lot of good points here. And there are these awesome clams, and right now they use them in Poland. They also use them in Lisbon, and they use them in hey, Kenguin, you like the bioaccumulation stream? Yeah, if you guys are interested in that, definitely check out the oyster mushrooms and the Paul Stamets stuff with the hydrocarbons. Like, we have figured out that fungi, like in the long run, we used to think that hydrocarbons, oil, and gasoline were going to be like around forever, just ruin the environment every time there's a spill. And guess what? It turns out that there's bacteria, there's fungi, there's archaea, and all of them can evolve to deal with, concentrate, and utilize those things. And in some cases, in a way that actually turns it to fertilizer. That's not what's going on with these mussels, though. These mussels are just holding on to it. And where it used to be out in the waterway, they are getting it out of the waterway, which is great because a lot of this pollution goes back to the 1920s, the 1910s, 1890s. It's from things like creosote pilings, the way we used to do things, with basically just pouring all of our chemicals in the entire Rust Belt. There's a reason they call it the Rust Belt. It gets its oxygen and water to rust the iron machinery from the Great Lakes and from the weather from the Great Lakes. And then all that goes back into the groundwater and back into the rivers, lakes, canals, and streams. And all the mills and all the things that are cooled by water from the Great Lakes for a long time, 150 years, that was unchecked. That was lumber mills. That was putting things like pulp, things like sulfuric acid, and things, for tanning hides that it's just not good stuff. Things like making hats, the hatteries. They would, wash the beaver pelts in the water, and then they'd come and they'd beat it around the form of a hat. And the same thing that makes you as mad as a hatter, all those chemicals draining off into the water. Some may dissipate, may bond, may turn into other chemicals, bigger compounds that aren't a worry, and others become way more harmful. So, yeah, you can break down chemicals, but you can't destroy elements, 100%. And so heavy metals go straight. No. So heavy metals don't go straight to the brain in humans, Michelle. Just they end up, they can accumulate in different parts of the body. And yes, the brain, especially in developing younger children, things like lead and mercury in particular are very detrimental to neurological functions and health. They mess up the sodium ion channels and the potassium signaling that goes on between nerves. Like, they screw up the signaling, and they also can be even necrotic in high enough doses. So they basically make your thoughts not reach the place in your brain they should. They cross wires, basically. And that can also end up poisoning you in your liver, your kidney, your pancreas, other places as well. But they are able to, being that they're an element, when they're broken down fine enough, if they're not in a large form, it's more dangerous when they've been particulized. So if you get like a mercury, a gas that had mercury in it, you're in a whole lot more trouble. Or a gas that had some sort of lead vapor in it, like from cars back in the day, that's so much worse for you than even just like holding a liquid puddle of mercury with your hands and later, rubbing your face or something. That's not going to get you anywhere nearly as sick, if sick at all. Pharmacists and things used to handle like actual liquid mercury all day long. They used it for all sorts of things. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, Carson Fram, you're getting me back on track. I appreciate it. So don't they claim that whitefish populations up to 90% in the 90s? So whitefish, lake sturgeon, and black cisco, as well as, well, there's like 5 cisco fish that live in the Great Lakes and the rivers around them. And now, of the 5, 3 are either threatened or like endangered or vulnerable, depending on each lake and each system. But yes, sturgeon and whitefish in particular, lake sturgeon and whitefish, are fish that eat plankton when they're young. And so while these clams and zebra mussels and things, and there are native clams, there are native mussels, but they don't grow in the density and with the veracity that the zebra mussel or the quagga mussel grow in. Those are from Eurasia and kind of, I think, like the Ural Mountains, the Volga River, and the Dnieper River, kind of Ukraine area. Once again, which we were talking about with the moss balls. So the moss ball thing, I'll just finish up and say that, so they made it illegal to sell moss balls. Well, Aquatic Arts showed what was going on at their facility. They showed how they handled the moss balls, and they were able to prove by giving basically biopsies to different universities that, yeah, there was no viable tissue or eggs or any sort of thing, cysts or diapause or nothing in the moss balls that were treated, the algae balls that were treated with their procedure. And then they'd put them in like a little laundry, like a lint laundry, what do you call it, like a dryer sheets kind of bag, like a fluffer bag, and they'd put them back in that, and it would be cool air, and they'd fluff them back up, and then they'd put them back in the cool water, and they'd kind of soak them in nutrients and stuff for a little while. They'd look pretty ragged, and then within 2 or 3 days there'd be some orange and yellow on them, and then they'd put flagfish and shrimp in there, and they'd pick off any bits that had died away from treating the moss or the algae, the moss algae. So anyways, even with all that going on, they never really got reapproved for mass consumption. So even though there is now one method, and Aquatic Arts held the patent on it, and they also wrote the manual with the fish and wildlife people from the feds. They came in and they looked at what they were doing, and they tried a few things. They went away for 6 months. They came back and they're like, you know what? We've tried a bunch of things. This seems like the most cost effective. So until we hear of a better plan, that's our plan. And so so that's one, that's kind of something cool that goes on behind the scenes about Aquatic Arts and stuff. But back to filter feeding and all those issues. So yes, the whitefish, the whitefish are a fish that is very, very dependent both on laying eggs in the fine silty areas of lakes and in shallow areas, and then the babies or larval fry, they come up and they graze in the water, and they're filter feeders enough. They don't just eat biofilm like, suckerfish or whatever. They actually can eat in the water. They eat microorganisms, and they go along the bottom, and they suck on rocks and they suck on stones, and it gets churned up by the lake. Well, things like sturgeon, which have the big sucker mouth pointed down, they also do this same thing. And while the mussels are not safe deeper than about 30 feet, the amount of biodiversity and bioaccumulations or like the actual volume of the biomass below about 30 feet underwater or 10 meters underwater is pretty poor in a lot of freshwater lakes because the sunlight and the clarity in the water was not very good. So these mussels, both due to oxygen and due to not having enough light to eat the algae blooms that tend to be towards the top of the water, these wouldn't last very well deeper down. Now, these fish tend to also graze in the shallows, but what we've seen over the last 20 years is that these fish have gone deeper and deeper to try and graze on algae that's straggling from the group and that's hanging out lower in the water. But there are different types of zooplankton, different types of algae, and I'm talking about phytoplankton heavily as well. But zooplankton, so little things like you'd think of Daphnia, Paramecium, Planaria, all that stuff, the mussels and clams and stuff that are invasive were eating at such an insane rate that there was literally nothing left for the fish other than stuff that was big enough to crawl, and that's too big for those early hatching fish. And so they were dying, and they were dying in massive numbers, and it was believed that they were going to go totally extinct. Well, at a certain turning point, and this is where the article comes in and what happened that surprised me and everything, they said that the water clarity had gotten a lot better because of these clams, right? Or these mussels. The zebra mussel increased clarity from 6 inches to 12 feet in a lot of places in certain areas. That was like the difference it made. And while it's filtering out food, yes, it's also filtering out heavy chemicals and things. Well, that's then those diving birds that I said can dive to 30 feet. Both the fact that the light wasn't reaching that deep in the murky water and the fact that the ducks and birds could dive down and rip off those if they were the species that had a strong enough bill to crunch them. They would go down, they would eat those mussels, and they were actually putting a dent in it. And if you go to India, if you go to Siberia, if you go to northern Canada, the zebra mussels actually don't survive. Like they find that the adults can live throughout the summer if they come off like a trailer hitch of a boat, and they can survive in lakes and things, eating the various. They're very adaptable. They can eat zooplankton, they can eat algae, they can eat phytoplankton, whatever it may be, paramecium. But one, they can't eat when it's too hot. The oxygen, the dissolved oxygen drops. Also, what they do though is all those particulate matters in the water, they actually form nucleation or nucleation. I guess that's the right word. Nucleation points for oxygen. So all those little dots of silt and junk floating in the water, whether it's food or not, a lot of times you'll see, just like pearling on plants, it has oxygen bubbles on it. And so when those little microscopic things, dust, silt, algae, mulm, vegetation bits, all that is actually oxygenating the water. And when the water gets cleaned, it actually pulls out all those little nucleation points. And what's interesting is that's like rain too. Like rain can't form without some amount of dust in the air. And usually it's either a fine quartzite or a fine schist that's been broken down into its simplest, forms, or something like phosphates. And over the Sahara, that gets kicked up in the air. And as I've said many times before, the entire reason the Amazon jungle and the southern United States and Mexico, Central America, the entire reason they get hurricanes is because of all that water volume that nucleates around these little dust particles kicked up by haboobs or sandstorms in the Sahara. And then the Sahara that blows off the coast and these updrafts of wind where the cool wet air meets the dry hot air of where the desert starts at the water, like the Namib coast, or that's the farthest south, all the way up to like Morocco. That then causes that dust to go up, way up into the upper atmosphere, these tiny little particles of dust, and then water can condense on it, just like it does on a can of Coca-Cola or whatever. You got a can of Coca-Cola that was warm, and then all of a sudden it goes up, 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 and gets cool, 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 cool. All of a sudden you get all these little nucleation points of condensation on that clump of molecules or that debris, and suddenly you have a raindrop that falls, ice gets into it. Anyways, that's a whole other story. But it's amazing how connected these processes are around the world. Also, I see the super chat, Budget Bonsai. Thank you. I did get your package. I thought that was so incredibly nice of you. And I really did your art. And I actually had it right here to shout it out, my friend, because I wanted to make a point of saying thank you so much. I love when people send me their creative stuff. I really love this like impressionistic, simple, abstract, cubist fish thing you're doing. Like, this is so cool. To me, it's like, oh, are they I look at it and I'm like, this was the first one that I got. I looked at it and I was like, wait, they're all going one way. And then I was like, wait, this one's turned and looking towards us. It's a fish. It has two eyes. And then I was like, they each have two eyes. We just can't see the others. Oh, they've got like tails. Oh, they're rummy nose tetras or something, And so I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, I looked over at this one and I was like, oh, yeah, I can totally see it's a Bosemane rainbow fish. Like, super cool. Really dig that. And then also I see that you got, all the cool stuff that you fire up and glaze, the other fun, colorful stuff. Ivan Mikolji does work very similar to yours, which is interesting. And then also these little, which you can stand up like with a cork. You can put like a little cork in it, or I mean a toothpick in it, and then put it in a cork. He sent me all this stuff too. And also a nice little, where did it go? Thank you. Also, like little fishery stuff. So this is the kind of stuff that I want to put in the fish room sooner than later, when I get things cleaned up. But I mean, very, very cool stuff. Like here we got like a pattern from a trout, like super zoomed in and kind of abstracted or stylized. I just thought that was really cool. And then there's also, oh yeah, here we go. Another one, little stickers and stuff. Super cool. And then we've got some other stickers here about the channels. So yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. I really do. Art art care encouragement package. I really do. I do appreciate it. And honestly, I think my favorite piece is having one of the rummy nose with the like having a piece of that is really cool. But then also where did it go? Here. I also thought this was super cool. Having a little notebook for like writing notes, because I'm always writing notes. So yeah, thank you, Budget Bonsai. Thank you so much for this. Also, he's got a cool sticker, and I meant to text you and whatnot, but I forgot because I'm a jerk. But I had them all sitting here to talk about at some point in this stream. So thank you. So I did want to shout that out. And thank you for the super chat. Man, you really don't need to do that. You were already being so kind. So thank you. And then Dagmar Haggerty also giving out a super sticker. Guys, I want to thank you. As I always say, and you're probably sick of hearing, it is super chats. It is memberships, even $1.99. Like, some people are like, well, how can that help you that much? And it's like, yes, YouTube takes a chunk. Yes, the taxes take a chunk, but that's basically for me like $1.20 every time someone does that. And when 500, 600 people do that, it ensures that like I have enough for the chunk of the mortgage or whatever it is. When I add that up with the ad revenue too. Like it is right now the only thing that makes, like right now I'm not making enough money to make this channel work long term. However, I'm also injured, and so I'm kind of just counting my blessings and telling myself like, hey, it's better to make a little bit of money right now than absolutely none. And I'm doing what I love, and I'm hurt anyways, so I can't like keep up with the pace that I was having, but I know I will get back there. And I'm gonna try again, and they're gonna do home nursing again soon, so I don't have to go twice a week to the hospital and have what gets billed as surgery, which is anyways. I'll get way off track. You don't need to bore you guys with all that stuff, but thank you so much. And to anybody in here with a green name, you guys, anybody in here watching the channel, you guys make a huge difference. I want to tell you that first off the bat. Just being here, teaching me things, telling me when I'm freaking wrong, saying, hey, what about this? All that kind of stuff. It means so much to me. And it's why I think we have one of the best communities online for actual aquarists, actual people who are students, people who are professors. You can come here and you can like nerd out on whatever level you want. Even if you're a beginner, you can jump in and watch videos on the nitrogen cycle. But the people here, you guys, we have such a cool community because of who you guys all are. And, I want that to keep going. It's why I made the Discord completely free now. You can access everything other than contact Alex 24/7. That you'll have to pay like $25 a month for, which is still pretty freaking cheap for having me on call. My wife hates that. But yeah, everything else I try to keep as cheap as it'll let me. And Discord free. There's a Patreon out there because people asked for it, but honestly, I think I make about $70 a month through Patreon. They don't take a whole lot of the cut though, which is nice. And then there are one or two people, shout out Daniel. Thank you so much. My brother from another Danish mother. He helps me out via PayPal, and they don't take any cut. So I get I get taxed on it obviously, but that's going to happen to any money I get, and there's no 40% taken. So I get though how easy it is to just become a member on a channel. I do that too. And so again though, I'm rambling, but I want to just shout out, I know not everyone can do it. I don't expect everyone to do it, but to those of you who are doing that, who have been members like Asha for 57 months. We have people who are here longer than a doctorate degree, literally, in this community that are my friends. Like, it's wild. When I see a lot of these people in person, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that it's you, and I know you so well, but we don't know each other at all. It's wild, So yeah, it's very wild. But I just wanted to thank you again, you guys. And U.S. Marine Corps, Jesus, I see you guys. Wicked Freaking Aquatics, I see you guys. I see all the folks, Cave of Wonders, Gamer. I see y'all in here. And so let's get back to what I was going to finish up with. The thing that I've never seen happen in all my years of researching a video that made it so I had a video that I probably had about 5 more hours of editing and or like looking for photos, looking for data from, and then I would have probably posted it this afternoon. Well, so tea. What is Jeff saying now? Now, Jeff, another person who's been here 47 months. I mean, again, that's like a 4-year degree. He's been here for, you know, a 4-year degree, a master's well, could be a master's PhD combined program or an undergrad degree. That doesn't sound exciting. Asha has some time on me. I was a late bloomer. Yeah, Asha has been here for another 2 years on top of that, like, or another year and a half on top of another year on top of that. Wild. And then there's a couple people that are like, I think 64 months is the max, like Kenny. Absolutely bonkers. But I mean, none of that matters. Even if you can just be a backer for $1.99 for 2 or 3 months, like, all of it is helpful, especially when people gift channels. I love that, because then people get to see the extra content if they were curious, like what's on there. They can listen to the 200 extra podcast episodes and audio episodes. But let's get back to what I was talking about. So the clams, the mussels that live they live down to the 30-foot mark ish. All of a sudden, they clear up the water, right? We were talking about this. From 6 inches visibility to 12 feet. What does that do to the sunlight coming down into the water? And in that time, we've had this agricultural revolution since the turn of the 19th, from 1900 to the year 2000. 2000 party over, it's out of time. We see the Haber-Bosch process, finding how to get nitrogen out of the atmosphere into an organic form, into the soil, into the plants, into our food, and all of a sudden we can feed humans on a level that was never ever imagined in history before. Before, you could plant some soy or, legumes, some tubers. You could plant maybe some rice or alder trees or what have you, peanuts, and recharge the soil in 2 or 3 years with crop rotation. That was incredible in the 1500s and 1600s when that got figured out in Europe. Got figured out way earlier in other parts of the world, but that like kicked up the amount of food that could be produced 3 or 4-fold. Well, this kicked up the amount of food that could be produced 20-fold. And all that nitrogen that we use, great companies like Monsanto and Roundup by Monsanto, all the companies that have been bought out by them, Johnson & Johnson, and I don't know. There's so many big conglomerates out there, but really, hey, I was just talking about you, Daniel. And yes, we are only 1,200 subs away from 100,000. I've been working for 10 years on this, and it'll be funny if it hits like right at the 10-year mark. That would actually be if it didn't hit until like September, October. Because I have a feeling they might jerk me around. Like I've gotten close to 100,000, and then all of a sudden 2,000 just disappear overnight, and they're like, "Yeah, we cleaned out your any like fraudulent people or people that were bots or whatever." It's like, why'd you have to like let me believe this for months, and you just clear it out now? Like, I didn't just earn them overnight. Anyways, back to the story. So the clarity of the water in the Great Lakes absolutely improved. The heavy metals, the creosote, the lead, the arsenic, the mercury, copper sulfide, all these things that were in the water, they are condensing and the birds are eating them, which means they're spreading out. And things like oil spills, gas spills that have happened in the past, back when there was lead in that to prevent knocking in car engines and so forth, diesel, naphtha, whatever it is from the hydrocarbon process that has leaked out, creosote, when we used to put that black shiny stuff that smells like tar and evil on logs to stop them from rotting and getting infected, which interestingly enough, screw worms from salt water and from the boats in the Erie Canal, as well as in Sacramento, or well, up the river to Sacramento, but I guess San Francisco Bay. They did so much damage in the late 1800s, these shipworms, that they ate through the wood. Well, creosote was an answer to stopping that invasive species. And yet we put that on all of our railroad ties, all of our dock and piling wood. And then that just absorbed this nasty, nasty stuff into our water for decades and decades. And to find the like button, I think you have to close out of chat and then click like outside of chat, which is super freaking annoying. And I do appreciate it though when you guys click that like button. It really is very nice of you. Yeah. But so with the water being clearer, we got the problem that now all the debris and nasty crap is in the silt and mulm at the bottom, because filter feeders, they've gently like strained it, and basically like little bit by little bit they've sprayed it out into a pile, either on the footing that anchors them to things. They like will mix it in with their conglomerate like cement that holds them there sometimes, depending on what it is. If it has high KH value, then they use it as like a bonding agent. But if it's like a heavy metal or something, then it will just drift back down and become silt right underneath where these beds, especially if there's a rock or something or a dock, and there's like thousands thick of these mussels. And all of a sudden, everything they're filtering in that water, when they spit it out the side of them, they, that's why they're called bivalves. They've got one sucking it up and in and eating it, and another one spraying out whatever's the trash and the leftover water, stealing the oxygen out of the water that they need, and so on. Well, then this also clears the water. So the problem is now with clearer water and less stuff in the water, one, the fish are now going and they're hunting in the silt and mulm at the bottom of the lake, 30, 40 feet deep, like they never were before. Before, they could only see 6 feet deep. There was enough light for a fish to see right in front of them. Now these fish can see several feet in front of them. And a lot of these grazing fish, when they're in their young stage, just hatching, they're in that area kicking up these, even though they're heavy, they're still able to, when they're rooting around their nose in their these few-day-old fry, they're rooting around these chemicals and elements. Now, chemicals much bigger than elements generally, but either way, like they're ingesting them, and that has a whole run-on effect. Same with the ducks. If the ducks are eating it and it's in their, say, liver or kidney, it builds up on their myelin sheaths across their nervous system and in their body. That's no good either, because whatever eats that, or wherever that duck dies, then it just transported all the stuff from the clams. So everything that floated by those clams or mussels just got basically put into a duck, like all however many cubic yards or cubic meters or gallons of water had that debris suspended in it, or other materials that were bonded to those heavy, nasty elements. And that's bioaccumulation, and it is wicked stuff how it works. And it goes up the food chain, because each time, if an eagle eats the duck, it's going to get all the mussels the duck ate, which is going to get all the floating matter that the mussels ate. And then if that eagle dies and gets eaten by, say, a fox on the ground, it's going to get all the ducks that ate all the clams. You may have literally millions of gallons of water worth of heavy metals in that one duck or eagle rather that's getting eaten by the fox. So it's very, and that's how things become very, very deadly quickly in the neurotoxic world or in the heavy metals world. All right, guys, you are here for my special time of the day. So crack one if you got one at our hour mark. Woo! All right. We got Dr. Pepper in the house. I don't know if that was a knock on the door or hold on, guys, one sec. There might have been a knock on the door. If you hear me yell, help, I'm being help, I'm being oppressed. Is that the door or was that the cat? Cat, I think it was you. I think it was you, my little girl. I think it was you. I think you're the troublemaker. I think you knocked over the book that sounded like a door. All right. Oh boy, one-handed. This looks graceful. Okay. Baby girl, I didn't mean to squeeze you. I didn't mean to squeeze you. I meant to please you. I meant to tease you. But I love you. Hey, juggling a cat, trying to put the headphones on. Somehow she got them like more than on. She got them like around my neck. Boy, I'm stylish now. Hi, baby girl. It's okay. Daddy loves you. You love Daddy? Sorry, guys. I'm just reading some of your comments. I was reading how lead buckshot and fishing weights kills hawks and eagles. 100%. Yep. It'd be cool to be able to study, to see and visualize heavy metals transportation through all the various plants and animals. Quite the, yeah, 100%. And same with like pesticides and things like that, like forever chemicals. Things like DDT also is another one where like that made eagles, it made the shells of eagle eggs paper thin. And so they wouldn't hold up for the length of the egg, and bald eagles almost went extinct in North America. Well, in the world, people still are using DDT. Monsanto and Dow both sell DDT derivatives and DDT itself in Africa in countries where it hasn't been banned, which is appalling. But anyways, any experience with Aquahuna in Burien? Yeah, it has another name. It goes by G&H Goldfish. I have worked in fish stores for a decade that used to buy stuff from G&H. Aquarium Co-op buys stuff from G&H. They supply very bread and butter fish. They also, if it tells you anything, Aquarium Co-op, their flagship store, quarantines a lot of the stuff that comes from G&H for a week to 2 weeks. Whereas stuff that comes from Imperial or Imperial Tropicals, that is, stuff that comes from Corey's room or from the wet spot, which is called the Cichlid Exchange when you're on the wholesale market, they don't quarantine at all. They like no, they just plop and drop it. I think usually they'll wait like a day, like they'll say like these are new, and they'll put a sign on the tank, and then they'll make sure that nothing breaks out in a day or two of them being there. At best, if even that. They used to do 2 or 3 weeks for every fish. But yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know what that says about them though, that they're the source that still gets quarantined no matter what. I think they get a lot of massive orders for the area. They're Western Washington's biggest transshipper, wholesaler, whatever you want to call it. They have all the kind of stuff that you would see at PetSmart, Petco. They don't tend to have really rare, interesting stuff. It's all kind of either seasonal, like neon tetras and stuff like that, or the stuff that you would get from Southeast Asia off farms. Imperial is definitely top notch. The wet spot cichlid exchange, another one that is usually pretty darn good. Sometimes the stress of shipment of shipping can do something to any fish, so I will say that. But for the most part, I mean, Aquatic Arts, wet spot, Imperial. I never quarantine. I do from Moonlight. If I go there in person and pick up, I don't bother to quarantine as long as everything looks good. But I do quarantine for a couple days and just look for anything. I haven't yet come across a single case of anything. But I do that just because I know that he is also getting stuff in from Asia that was in theory either quarantined before it came to him. That's part of like the process, I guess. They quarantine him for like 5 days, which isn't that long. And then they preventatively treat them, or they prophylactically treat the fish, which I'm not a huge fan of. But in order to get the really rare fish that he has access to, it's like you got to make some trades, and that's one of the trades I make, especially because right now Moonlight Aquatics has stuff like the super white plecos that are usually 200 to 400, 500 if they're adults. The beautiful super whites are, I believe, 150, and you can get that with another 10% off with my code. So yeah, I mean, hard to complain about needing to maybe keep an eye on something a little longer when it's rare and really high quality stuff. Same with like freshwater tiger moray eels. Like he's got those usually for $99 or with the discount, like $91 or something, or $89. And normally those are $199 or $299 at all the other fish stores around here, and they look better at his. So hard to say like, oh shucks, I have to put it in a tank for 2 or 3 days just in case. Like I haven't really had to. And he has like tons of beautiful rainbow fish, tons of beautiful cories. But I do that with any super predator that hangs out low in the water, or that eats low on the food chain. It eats from social organisms. So honestly, like a mussel or a clam is something that can have a bunch of nasty stuff in it. But a puffer fish that's eating all this stuff that's grazing dead stuff and worms and possibly eggs of worms, like snails and worms both are notorious vectors for parasites, other parasites, and for bacteria and things. And so stuff like a puffer fish, stuff like a wild caught archer fish, or a wild caught Oscar, those are things where I tend to usually at least do like a parasite cleanse of them with levamisole, if I'm going to keep them long term. The other thing that I would say is I don't treat ahead of time before I see symptoms in anything other than what I just mentioned, but I will also sometimes treat community fish. So if I'm buying 40 Danios or 50 Danios, that's something where they're so packed in there together. If I notice that some have sunken bellies or any minor thing, that's when sometimes I'll do something else. Or if one has like a spot of ick, I notice, and I know that maybe they got like down to 68 or 70 while they were in transit. That's another time when I'll set them aside and kind of see how they do before I put them in a big tank. But to be smart, you should really just always quarantine stuff. Oh, nice. U.S. Marine Corps, she got a snail. Pink Lady snails. I love those things. They're small, but I love them. From Aquatic Arts. Used Fishery 15. You know, a bunch of folks are using Fishery 10 at Aquatic Arts, and they only get 10% off. You could get 15% off as many times as you want, plus the sale price. So when it's the green sale price, you can do that, or the BOGO, like buy 3, get 3. You can get that. Oh, Myanmar wild waters. What's going on? I love your country so very much. So beautiful. Absolutely obsessed with it. You're yeah, good to see you here. I think your channel is the one too. Yeah, that I've definitely watched a lot of. I think I've reposted that one several times. If you have the channel I'm thinking of with Lake Inlay, some footage from there, as well as a couple other places. Anyways, awesome. Welcome. Love having people from all over the world hopping in. Wicked Freaking Aquatics. What's up? George. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Amy Maldonado, thank you so much. You're enjoying the live stream? Well, I'm enjoying your money. No, I'm enjoying everybody chatting and talking. And I still haven't told you the crazy thing that happened. But so hold on. Jesus, let me hold on. My mouth dry. I'm gonna have a cough drop real quick. And let's see here. Let me pull up Moonlight Aquatics. I think he has those. Moonlight. I'll share the screen because sharing is caring. And then we'll finish up my story. And I want to tell you, since tonight I'm feeling good, I really wanted to tell you guys also, in case tomorrow I don't feel good on the normal Friday stream, I want to tell you guys all about the fact that I found all these killifish eggs for sale on Amazon that surprised me. But we're looking for 201s, huh? Well, here's Moonlight Aquatics. And let me make this a little, can we make this bigger? Yeah, there we go. All right. So we will go to shop live fish, all live fish. Oh, they're albino gold laser cories. These are $100 a lot of places, but these are really cool. That's not a good picture, but I took some pictures of them. This gold stripe down their side is like reflective white, like the white on a stop sign. Like on a stop sign's red, it glows like a light, when anything hits it. But those are really cool, very rare. $3.99 for a monos. It's a good deal. Oh, these are cool too. These are a newer loach species. Super cool. These are from Borneo. They get a blood red tail and then kind of an orange body. They get fairly good size. Also, Beta Atuna pairs, Beta albimarginata Malinois, only $24.99. He's got black Medaka rice fish, bleeding blue tetras, $11.99. I mean, bloody Hillstream loaches, $29.99. Only $20 for the black Corridoras Schultzii. His are really dark. I mean, they're really, really dark. These are the ones he's got, the red color to them too. He's got a lot of shrimp for $3.99, $3.99. It blows my mind that he can do that all day. Plus, you guys get 10% off if you want. Also, look at this, Corydoras pantanolensis. These were $100 earlier this year. Actually, 119. And for an adult pair, oh, he sold out of those. Okay. I was gonna say it's $100 for a pair, but $34 for an 1.5 2 inch long fish. If you were there, you could probably sex him. He's had them long enough that you could probably sex him, to be honest. Also, what were we looking? Oh, 201s is what we were looking for. But I'm just saying, some of these Corys that he's got right now for $50 is a crazy deal because they're like Corys you never see in the hobby, right? Like CW 169s for $19.99. These things were going for a whole lot. Same with the Vulcan Corys. These Cipolowini, these ones with the really tall sail fin when they're alert or showing off. Super cool. Yeah, here's his Vulcan Corys. $149. Yeah, I figured those would be very expensive. These are the true collection point ones, though. Like, look at that top fin. Insane on the males. And then he's also got Rio Tomos. He had some that were only $19.99 for a while, and I told you guys to go get them while they lasted. But now he's got a new source that's even more starkly colored like this, like the ones you've seen probably online. And it's the same source everyone else is getting them from. And they're $60 a pop, which is a lot. But somebody wants to breed them and make $60 times 50 babies or whatever. The other thing I was going to say, yeah, he's got Imperial Lapis Tetras for $9.99, which is a crazy good deal. Small ones for $7.99. Okay, here we go. Here's some plecos that I was looking for. 130 leopard frog plecos, 1.5 to 2.5 inches, $59. $59 for any of the sizes he has. Those were $150, $200 a couple years ago. Yeah, here's the super white. Normally $190 or $199, now $149. Those are absolutely gorgeous. Look at all the white on those. Use the code FISH310 and you get even more. You know, you get the extra 10% off. And then he says, Alex, you rock. Here is this or that fish for your collection too, when I'm ready for it. The other, does he have 201s? I thought he did, but he's got the L97, the polka dot catfish. He's got the mini snowball plecos for $49. Those are awesome. They never get big. He's got zebra plecos, the whole adult size ones, $149 for adult size ones. Wicked. Melanitania, Kalitawas, those are rad. Oh yeah, Milky Way woodcats, only $14.99. These are incredible, super fun to see. Again, $4.99 and $3.99 for shrimp, super cheap. Oh, he's got the Mbunta. These guys get like rainbow colored when they're spawning, and they get big. Also, the peppermill tetras, the Pugatti, they can look pretty plain when they're not colored up, but then they color up and they're insane. Those paired with the raccoon tetras, oh my goodness, they look incredible together. Also, he's got some rice fish, the black Soratoi rice fish, only $14.99. I haven't seen those, period, anywhere near that. The really red Sanipa real Amaya. The even more expensive. Wow, I haven't seen those for $30. That's pretty wild. He's got Scratch Tetra, $14.99. Oh, I love these. I didn't see that he had these back either. These are the ones I've had forever, guys. I've had these since he opened the Sahulensis or Sahul Island Moa Island. There's a Skull Island, a Skull Creek, Moa Island. They each have slightly different colors, but this is a very hardy rainbow fish that will live in a small school very easily. Very cool. Also, his little Stiphodons, he's always got a bunch of those, doing well. And oh man, I thought he had one of them. I guess I'm mistaken, or yeah, 247, 471. These are another one that are just like outrageously awesome. These orange eye Bolivian lemons, their body turns, like you can see the orange on their fins. That means their body will turn like neon orangey yellow, and their eyes will be like electric metallic red. They're super, super cool. Let me go to maybe under, does he have a pleco? Plecostomus, yeah. Where was his 201? I swear he just had it. Did he just sell out or something? Yeah, because he's got like the leopard frog's still there. These are on sale too. So yeah, you can get a albino L333 adult size for $69.99. Those were like $140. Oh, Sultan plecos too. I need to get some of these. I love these. They are incredible when they're young. They are so beautiful. This like gray body with these dark black spots on these white tips. They're so cool. And then they get older and they're a little different. These also, oh, he's sold out, dang. But he's got some of these, all of these here. These pit bull plecos. These are the smallest pleco you'll ever see. These $14.99 ones. They're like an inch to 2 inches max, and they stay really small. These just sold out too. He had these this morning. He might still have some, but he'll probably have to redo stock and see what he's got. But these look like super flat ancestris, and they are an ancestris, but they're the Rio Itenes. Really cool, newer pleco. Also, Blue Phantoms, only $44.99, and that was for like big size. Same with the Green Phantoms. But yeah, he has these ones, which are the spiny, tiny little polka dot ones. And then he also has the Colombian zebra pleco, only $24.99. I mean, he gets some of these things. It's like a crazy deal. Also, the cactus pleco, polka dot cactus. These are another incredible one. The Alenquer tiger. These have become more common, but for $39, still a good deal for a really good color line of them. Watermelon plecos, $49. Yeah. Oh, here's the green high fin. So it's also the long fin too. Green. And again, these pictures are not doing it justice. I need to go into his shop and take pictures, because see, he's got like bristle nose here for $24.99 for like the super reds. Also, lemon blue eye bristle nose, $14.99 for the long fins. That's a great deal. And again, another mini snowball. He has so many of these mini snowballs or mini polka dot ones. But the snow whites, those are the ones I have in my big community tank. And the super red bristle nose, what's his name? Jason of Red Fish Blue Fish .shop, not .com, but .shop. He's closing down, guys. I don't have a discount code for you or anything, but he's moving, and his son is he wants to spend some time with his son before his son moves away. His son's like 16. He's going to go to college, obviously. So he, between that and like them moving houses and all that jazz, he wants to get out of this business, but he's got some really amazing, these are almost all European sourced fish. So it's worth taking a look and seeing. he's gonna mark some stuff down a little bit more, but I mean $5.99 for the diamond head tetras. Also, I believe he'll be doing shipping that is via ground. Also, his cardinal tetras look absolutely insanely beautiful. His CPDs look super beautiful. And what else did he have that was, oh yeah, the Bloody Marys are the same price as Moonlights, $29.99, which is crazy good deal because those are usually like $50 a pop a lot of places. So yeah, lots of little pseudomcgills and stuff like that too. White cloud minnows. He's got a few Epistos left. He's got some red shoulder McMasteri. He's got some Borelli opals, and then he's also got the blue tail loaches. Only $15.99. Look at this. Only $4.99 for the peppered corridor catfish for the Peleatus. Super good deal. Norman Lampi Achilles only $4.50. $4.99 for the Kubatai green neon rasbora. And then here we go, the McMasteri super red and the McMasteri red shoulder. These are the ones I have. Only $34.99, $38.99. And then I think he's selling pairs for $116 or for $104 over there. Also the cockatoides he's still got. Some rummy nose. Yeah, so he's going out of business though, unfortunately, which, you know, it's sad to see, but at the same time, like, I wish him well. So he's not going to mark anything down more than another about these are the red laser ant tetras that are $9.99. They were $22.99 at one point. Also, he's got Agassizi triple reds and Agassizi super fire reds. You know, he was known for the Epistos, obviously. But yeah, that's all he's got right now. And what he's got, he's making it. You know, it is what it is until it's out the door. Again, these Hyphosobricon Mateas, these are those beautiful seafoam blue ones that I have in my the community take with all the val in it. $6.99. It's a good deal. So just wanted to shout out Redfish, Bluefish, and Jason there. It looks like they've got wild also. The honey gourami. This is it gets the bars. It is not the bright yellow and orange domestic line. This is the wild. They're kind of off cream yellow, and then they get these bars sometimes on the males. So yeah. Also, yeah, you know, I'm gonna have to pick up only $5.99 for Gertrude blue eye rainbow fish, and for fork tails $5.99, and for thread fins $10. Yeah, there's a couple things on here. $8.99 for Congo tetras. I think they're fully grown. Also, his clown killies $4.99. Kochu tetras. These are beautiful, especially if you have natural sunlight and a school of these. Oh my lord, I can't tell you how beautiful they are, but they've got purple and green and blue and lavender. They're so cool. Only $5.99. I'm kind of shocked at that. So yeah, he's already kind of at prices, I think, trying to clear things out. But the Cardinal Tetras are again one that I know is it's big time. He needs to move them, and they are big time beautiful. And again, look at this super red bristle nose and cistrus, $9.99. And he said if you buy two, he will probably give you a third one free if you message him. So if you go to redfishbluefish.shop, since he's closing down, if you don't mind, when you message him or a note on your order, just say Alex sent me, or I heard about you on Fishery, and give him a little smiley face. I don't know. I don't have a discount for you or like any, affiliate code, but he's a buddy of mine, and he helped me show you guys like what it is like to make tissue cultures from scratch, what it was like to import things, and like all the paperwork back on the channel like 6-7 years ago, like what he went through to open a fish store on his own. Like, I mean, we covered all that on live streams and special visits. And so I do owe him, thank you for like letting us see behind the curtain. So yeah, the redfish address is redfishbluefish.shop. So instead of .com, it's .shop. And right here, redfishbluefish.shop. And it's HTTPS www.redfishbluefish.shop. But yeah, he is definitely sad, and he's just done with it all at this point. So he just wants to get those out of there. All right, let me bring the story home and link this all together about why I didn't do this story about these clams and zebra mussels in the water and so forth. So I was reading this story, kind of fascinated by it. Usually I kind of think it's boring. I don't know why, but I kind of think it's boring to deal with some of the hey, Justin Starbuck, what's going on? I think it's kind of boring to read about like a lot of invasive species. It's always overhyped and stuff, but like these mussels and bivalves, so clams and things like the New Zealand mud snail or whatnot, they're really, really damaging. And you'd think that making the water cleaner and getting the toxic stuff out of the floating water where it's being filtered by fish gills, it's being it's falling and settling as a sediment to some degree. It's getting churned back up, and it's not good to be in the water. But the fact that they clean the water so effectively, that cities actually use them in Europe, and all they do is a clam or a mussel, it opens like this, and they have these little like around the edge of the opening, these little like cilia or hairs or little, I don't know, fingers, little tiny things, and they basically catch whatever's out there. They're like little sea anemone, little like strings or little fuzzies. And just like a fan shrimp does this, like the flower shrimp or the Singapore shrimp, the wood shrimp, same kind of deal. And then they eat whatever particulates they find, whatever particulates or junk they spit out, as I mentioned. But the fact that they clean so effectively, you'd think that could be a good thing, right? Like they're cleaning up the water to some degree. Well, where fish evolved to live in water, a lot of fish evolve the ability to hide in mucky water. Like it's the ability of them to go off the cut bank or off into an area with weeds and reeds in the shallows. And the fact that there is 6 inches of mud and mulm and just icky stuff, like you pick up from a lake a lot of times, you feel it all squishy under your feet, and you pick it up and you're like, gross, what is this? Well, a lot of that is things like baby bass, baby stickleback, perch. A lot of stuff live as young fish. They live in that, and that is where they get all of their early food from, is like in that environment. And so when that gets cleaned up to a point that's so clean that visibility changes from 6 inches to 12 feet of visibility, what else is going to change? Well, one thing changes is that the apex predators, things like pike, things like muskies and lake trout, they're able to look across the lake 12 feet instead of 6 inches, and they're able, with their high-speed, slender bodies and sharp teeth, they're able to chase down, prey or schools of prey. And out in the open water of the lakes, that usually goes on. That was an issue that has always been present, in that the water was clearer away from the shores, but it wasn't so clear near the shores. So now the article, I was reading about this, I was thinking it was interesting. I was talking about all the cost it was going to be, taking pictures of the damage it does to sewer pipes, the damage it does to boats and to underwater phone cables, internet cables, electric cables, all sorts of stuff. The ability for like locks on canals to open and close, scraping it from the hull of boats or from docks that are sinking or have holes ripped into them. All that stuff, very, very harmful and destructive. They average, they estimate that in the next 10 years, it's going to cost $3 trillion to the federal and state governments. That's not just private property. So the private companies will have to pay more than that. But that's the minimum. That's the minimum estimate that they had in another article that I read about the damage in all of the Great Lakes. Now, there is one thing that stops these, other than ducks that swim down and eat these mussels and these the zebra mussel and the quagga mussel. And one of them is when there's not enough calcium or KH in the water. When the water is too soft and or acidic, any bivalve cannot make a shell, and so it dies. And because of this, that is a good thing, it stops them from doing it. Whereas the native snails and clams and shrimps and microcrustaceans, they've learned to live with it. And in Lake Superior, there are less deposits of limestone and like fossil beds and things like that. And there are the water there, also it being a bigger lake and a deeper lake too, and getting more runoff from snowy mountains and things in the winter. It actually has only 12 parts per million if you sample right from the center of the lake. On average, that's what's in it. It's that soft of water, 12 parts per million. And they said that they need a KH of around, in degrees, for zebra mussels and quagga mussels. They need somewhere around either 20 parts per million or 3 or 4 KH. And again, they are well below that, with like 1.5 KH being the max in Superior. So they haven't really appeared in Superior other than a few here and there that are babies, and they don't seem to grow bigger than, a very small size. And that's only right on the shore where minerality is stronger. And I love soft cheese and hard water. Oh, maybe you said something different, but I'm reading it that way, Jeff. So Justin Starbuck, also a member for 10 months. You know what? Shout out to you. I do appreciate that greatly. Also, Eddie Penna, just want to say thank you for being a member as well. I feel like I haven't seen you, or maybe you changed your name, but I haven't seen you just super recently. You have 30 Episto Juvies. How do I sell them? Got a pair as a gift in my tank. 30 of them grew up together. Yeah, that's a rough one. I mean, you'd think it would be a good problem to have, but usually stores will give you like $2 or $3 for a Pisto, and then they sell them for like 20 or 30, and you're like, what the hell? That's not fair. But you might find a good store. There's one good store in Seattle left called The Fish Store, and they will straight up give you 30% of whatever the price they're going to list it as. And I think that's more than generous in today's economy. So if they're going to sell the Episto for $30 for $29.99, you're going to get $10. And I think that's super fair. But that's just my opinion. It's just like your opinion, man. So here's the part that I've been holding off, and you guys are like, Alex, freaking tell me what it is. I don't even care anymore. You've just been waffling on about nothing. And also, the cover of this freaking live stream has nothing to do with anything. What the hell, you ass? So, all right, it's coming full circle. So, the water being clear, a article on Fish News, which is a great publication that just is an amalgamator, or basically like a news collator, and I forget the word, an RSS feed, basically. You know, they put together a selection of interesting fish stories that are academic or scientifically peer-reviewed and or have some status within the community about them. And hey Mick, what's going on? We have a member who wants to know, how do they sell 30 Epistos now that they have baby Epistos? Well, first you got to grow them out to probably about an inch, and then you want to make them seem rare and sell them to a couple of people and be like, don't tell anyone I sold it to you for this good price, and sell it whatever price you want. But be like, don't let everyone know you have this yet. And then you try to do that with all of them in your fish community before anybody catches on that you just sold Episto pairs to everybody. If you can wait long enough that you can sell pairs, you can get a lot more money, generally speaking. But if you just want to sell individuals, then it's best to try to sell 5 or 6 at a time. And soon 30 doesn't become that big of a deal, because instead of charging maybe 30 or 40 for an Episto, you could charge like 10 per young fish, and you can sell them much sooner at like an inch long or whatnot, once they get a little bit of color and you can tell, oh, it's an Episto and it's this kind of Episto. And without knowing the gender for sure, you can definitely still sell them for, you know, 10, 15 bucks, whatever, 5, 15. It just depends on what you're trying to do. But that's what I would do. And that's what I have done in the past when I sell those, or a very specific crib, or black bar cichlids, or cupid cichlids, or some sort of dwarf cichlid. But it's hard because you saturate your own market really quickly unless you're selling online and you're in the US, or you're in the EU and you're selling, you know, online, or China, I suppose, or India. But yeah. So what I was going to say, though, is that this journal, I usually, you know, the Fish News, that's actually, I know the guy who runs it. Great dude, means well, posts good sources. And again, I've never seen this in years of using that as one of my sources. But this time, I do all this research. I downloaded the paper. I got behind the paywall, and suddenly I try to click on the paper again, and I can't find it. And I'm like, what the hell? Where'd this paper go? Like, where did this thing about the where did this paper go about mussels and invasive species and the water clarity? And then, you know, I tried to go back through, and I found 1 or 2 of the older papers that I had cited and that were going to be part of it. But the whole conjecture of water being clearer at deeper depths, thus more sunlight reaching down and causing phytoplankton, zooplankton, phytoplankton, all the little plankton, the microscopic life ecosystem, to be richer, because the mussels had eaten away all the particulate dust and dirt matter. That was not correct. And in fact, in other research that came out literally like the same month in another journal, they found that fish had fish like sturgeon and the bottom loving fish had actually been able, after the mussels had come in, they'd been there a while and they've been eating things for a while, and they've been kind of ruining it, and the populations were decimated, right? The lake sturgeon and the whitefish and the ciscos, they've all been decimated. The yellow perch just rocked down 90% or more. And 9 out of 10 of those fish are now dead and gone, and those are fish that live 150 years, massive 7-8 foot fish, and the sturgeon are. And so when they have their babies, they may have 10-20,000 eggs. One, the eggs need to survive. They can't be in silt that has harmful toxic debris, because over time that causes them to be maladapted and can cause lower fertility rather quickly. Beyond that, they need then tons of food immediately when they hatch. So they need to be able to browse biofilms, have things like wood that's snagged down underneath 20 feet deep that has enough light that through that muddy water that there's still going to be either algae or some sort of biofilm, some sort of life living there. And when it was super muddy, a lot of those little fish and stuff were actually not caught by the predatory like muskies and stuff, because or the pikes, because they couldn't see them, from 5 feet away. They just didn't even see them at all, so they just disappeared. And all of a sudden, and hey, what's going on, drifters? Good to see you. Joey, good to see you as well. Good to see all y'all who have wandered in. If you haven't yet, hitting that like button, I do appreciate it. But yeah, so they retracted this guy's analysis, and he was like, you know what, upon further evidence, I guess, he's like, I want to retract my analysis of the research and the grant and study we did. And I haven't seen that actually in the time that I've uploaded a video. I've seen it happen years after the fact, or things with like Neanderthal stuff that would happen all the time, where DNA would prove some hypothesis wrong later on. But that's the beautiful part about science. The best part about science is when you're wrong, it's not like, yeah, well, I still feel like it should be right, so let's fight to the death and not be friends, and I'm going to get in my corner and you get in your corner, and whoever has the most money in our super fund super PAC is going to win by lying to the people. It's not like politics. It's no, it's like, oh man, you guys are right, you showed me evidence, and I had to eat my own words there, but we're better off for knowing now we know better. I kind of had an egg on my face there. Sorry, guys. I guess I jumped the gun, but now we know the truth, and I think that's super inspiring. The fact that we could have someone withdraw their analysis that was just published like weeks ago, and the fact that they could say, yeah, I was wrong. You know what? Actually, I think it's harmful to these fish. I don't think it's beneficial, because originally the paper came out and said that these mussels are benefiting fish that live under that 30-foot mark. Like if they hatch their eggs low, if they hang out on the bottom of the lake or out in the deep water, they basically said that the ducks were eating all the mussels, and not that was keeping them in check at all. In fact, they're still growing at an invasive pace and spreading. But the fact that Lake Superior is a kind of natural wall where they can't spread into because of how soft the water is. That's one thing helping. And the fact that the water clarity has improved so much, we thought that, okay, that has to be a good thing, right? But once it's been 100 years of murky water because of boats, because of silt, and because of things like pulp mills and paper mills and different plants that are making different goods, and they're putting different byproducts out into the water. They're also using different things like steam powered stuff and then putting the warm water back into the lake. Stuff like that had been going on for 150, 200 years. Fish got used to it. And in some cases, yeah, invasive fish, or in other cases, native fish found like a way to get ahead or a niche in those warm spots, or in an area that happened to have higher nitrates, or that happened to have more algae because they ate algae. But overall, the evolution in that lake evolved over since the Laurentine Ice Age. So since the glaciation of North America, so 10 to 15 or 16,000 years ago at best, is when all those fish from then till now had to evolve. Which, granted, that may not seem like that much time, but it's a whole heck of a lot more time than since the Industrial Revolution. And so a lot of these fish that they thought, well, the water clarity's cleaned up and the pollution in the water's cleaned up, and that must be a good thing. Yeah, it's not actually a good thing in all cases, because the eggs, for instance, can be spotted by lake trout. So things like walleye or Dolly Varden can actually see the eggs when they're 20 feet above in the water and go down and eat the nest of eggs or the spawning location, or in the creeks and rivers leading into the lake. They can do the same, and it can be harmful. It can actually cause them to disappear. And yes, perch fishing, as you're saying, lush salty aquariums, it went to hell with crystal clear water brought on zebra mussels. The water has no food web for the fish. Yes, exactly. There's no microscopic food for them either. So just like I said, the perch and the whitefish and the cisco, anything that feeds low on the trophic pyramid, so things that eat tiny food like plankton and phytoplankton, zooplankton, paramecium, whatever it may be, anything that eats that stuff, which the clam and filter feeders and zebra mussels eat, well, they've competed for it, and there's billions of them. So in another study I read, they said that in 1 cubic meter of water, so say that's a square that is 3 feet by 3 feet, so 3 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and 3 feet deep, or back, however you want to measure it. A cube that's 3 by 3 by 3. In that shallow water in the Great Lakes, on average, near shore, near docks, on a rocky shore, that will hold up to 10,000, including the baby, shelled ones, 10,000 of the zebra mussels and quagga mussels, 10,000 per cubic meter of water, which is insane, and up to 80,000 for surface area. If you had it was 1 meter by 1 meter of surface area that was able to be colonized, like whether that's a dock or a piece of stone or whatever that is the right kind. That's how many would crowd in, so much so that they're growing on top of each other. What question did you ask? Pygmy sunfish. Advise, what interesting rare fish do you think would do well and fun to breed in a 20-gallon long? Dream Tendo, I would say you can do so many things in a 20-gallon long. In a 20-gallon long, you could even grow something like a dwarf cichlid. You could have a black bar dwarf cichlid, Tianacara candidii. You could have gold eye cichlids. You could do a pair or a trio. Probably a pair is better. And then if you have to, you can add another female. But that's assuming you have the male, a female. You could do a pistos easily in that, and you could have you could do, for instance, in a 20 long, if it's well planted and you got a little cave, some hardscape, maybe a stick in there or whatever, and a decent filter on there, you can have all sorts of stuff. You could have maybe 5 or 6 pencilfish, or pseudomcgill or something that are at the top that you could then take out and put a spawning mop in either that tank, and they would spawn in that, or put them. Whoa, sorry guys, sorry that was loud. Or put them in like a 5-gallon tank or a bucket with a spawning mop for a night or two, and just like in the summer, and just let them spawn when you fattened them up. Stuff like that, or things like rasboras, danios, and small tetras. So ember tetras, and middle, or I guess small, nano to small fish. You can have a nice little school of those, plus like your main pair of whatever you want to breed. Plus you could have something at the top like pseudomcgills, and then you could even still have like an autosynclus or maybe 5 coryhabrosis or something like that. You can really fit a lot into a 20 long. That is a great tank, and easily I fit over 20 fish in a tank like that are nano fish. If you get into something like an angelfish or a pleco or something, that's when you're getting too big. Even large gouramis, that get mollies, platies, stuff like that, starts getting where it makes quite a bit of waste. So really what you're looking at is the mass of the fish. A crebensis will work, like any of the Pulcher or Tiniatus varieties that have collection point names will work, but that is pushing on the like bigger side. Any Apisto probably would work a little bit better, but also like the black striped cichlids, the Tianacaras, stuff like that. That works really, really well. Checkerboard cichlids, the filamentous, or there's 6 checkerboard cichlids. All of them would work out for a 20 long and could be a lot of fun. You could also, if you wanted to do something different, you could also do in a 20 long, you could have shellies, shell dwellers. You could do, what are they called? Multifasciatus. Little multis. There's a lot you could do in just a 20 long. A 20 tall limits you a little bit, but the 20 long really does give you more area too for like even things like gouramis, like honey gouramis, or maybe something like bettas. If you want to do like some rasboras, you could do something like chili rasboras or phoenix rasboras, and some anchor catfish and some coolie loaches and a pair of bettas. I mean, of wild bettas, like that wouldn't be out of the question. That could be pretty cool. You could do celestial pearl danios with erythromicrons. Even though they can cross, they probably won't in a tank setting. I mean, you have to kind of pull eggs to get that to happen. If you do, you'd be luckier than anything else, but yeah, I think that the long tanks really really help for sure. The other thing I would say, yeah, pencilfish and chili rasboras, that's a great combo for sure. Shrimp, you can put some Amano shrimp in 20 longs. For some reason, they tend to jump out frequently, but not always. But the cherry shrimp, you can definitely just get some wild Neocaridina even. I mean, if you have the money to go get pretty ones, then great. But you can get some wild ones and just have them looking kind of clear, translucent. And that's great for keeping up with that. Put a couple Malaysian trumpet snails to be working your substrate. Kitty cat. Why are you chewing on the back of the computer and the cords? And then you're like, I don't want to play. I don't want daddy to hold me. I just want to disrupt. Okay, guys. So the last thing I had to say, which I really didn't have much to say about, it was really just a click trap to get you in here, was once I scrapped that video, I was like, well, F it all. What am I going to talk about? Like, now that video got retracted, I could make an uber meta nerdy video where I talk about, hey guys, isn't this interesting? Like, here's the course of the video for 9 minutes. And then just kidding, it was all wrong. I take it all back. It's not true. And that sometimes that happens in science, and that's what makes science great. And I feel like I could have done that, but I feel like y'all who would have been interested in watching that, you already know how science works. You know that stuff happens. You don't need to get that lesson to watch that unfold, to see my anguish of, God damn it, I just edited a version of this, and then I recorded myself doing an intro to this section and that section, and I even typed up for a little teleprompter app what I was going to say, and I walked casually around the backyard just to make the shot interesting, trying to do little things here and there like that just to keep the videos more interesting. But sometimes I know I overthink it. Other times I'm just feeling frustrated. But now I spent 2 hours basically talking about what would have been a 10-minute video. So there's that. But what I wanted to say before I leave, Sumi, what are you doing, baby girl? She is so cute right now. She has this butterfly on a stick that my wife got her. She's had 3 or 4 of these things. And she just absolutely loves these things. She's just, yeah, you gonna play with it? You're gonna butterfly. Oh, she took it. Never mind. She got it. Sumi, bring it back. Thank you, my dear. So what I was going to talk about for the last bit of the stream was that I was reading another thing that I made. I was going to make a short about it, and I think now I don't know. The short ended up being 5.5 or 6 minutes long, and it's like, is that a short anymore? I don't know. And I don't know what that counts as, but I've seen that you can do that on YouTube now. You can make a short that's 5 minutes long. So I'm going to try it out, I think, even though it's going to have some editing, some pictures. But what was wild, and hello, Shibin Koshi 06. Hello. No, not so short. Yeah, no so short. Wicked freaking aquatics. Yeah, Jim, that's that reminds me of, there's this guy, he does Rokugo shows in Japan, which is like a storytelling, kind of like stand-up comedy, but Rokugo, his name is Takamushi Sunshine. He's a white dude who moved from Canada to Tokyo to learn Rakugo storytelling, where you have a fan and is it a pen or something, or tea I don't know, you only have 2 things and you have to tell this story and you use the fan like a prop. And anyways, it's an interesting, like ancient or not, I don't know, like historic form of theater. And Casey Sunshine, Casey and the Sunshine Band, yeah. But anyways, he says, not so short. You know, he likes to say those. It's like Chinese, not Japanese, Chinese, English. That's what they call it, English. Nice. The real con dogs. Hello. Also, I'm just realizing now that it says vertical broadcast. Am I also in vertical? Because right now I see my landscape broadcast. That's what I've been seeing this whole time. But now all of a sudden I'm active on 2 screens, it says. So that's interesting. Let me minimize. And thank you so much for the super sticker there. I appreciate that. Super stickers go a long way. 99 cents. I'll take them all day, my friends. Landscape. You're vertical. Okay. Alex, you're vertical on my screen. Okay. All right. Not horizontal, though. Okay. All right. Double image, both vertical. All right. Weird. Okay. I don't know. Normal on my laptop. All right. Well, I won't worry about it. I'll just forget about it for now. So what I was going to show you guys, I have to pull up. Kitty cat, just chill. I'm almost done. I know that daddy's running late and that you want your dinner and that you have no patience. Kitty had no patience. She wakes me up at 5 a.m. every day. And that is when breakfast is. 5 a.m. Nothobranchius eggs. Everybody dance now. Bum 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 bum. Squirrels in the morning, squirrels in the evening, squirrels. Okay, let me share this with y'all. I want to share it with you. I want to share it with you. Share screen. Come on now. Share the screen. Share the dream. Share the love. Here it is from above. There it goes. Okay. So here we've got co-host salmon eggs. Do we want that? No. That's 1 pound of fishing bait. That's a lot of eggs, though. Premium brine shrimp, $9.49. I don't know how much that is. Let's find out. I'm just curious. What do you get for $9.99, Bob? Wow, those are really fine. Look at the size of those on the spoon. Very tiny, very teeny, very tiny. And they are I don't see a size on here. Where's the freaking size, man? In stock. Brine shrimp eggs, free brine shrimp cubes. Sorry, guys. Oh, 0.7 ounce. That's nothing. That's nothing for 9. That's terrible. Bad deal. Go to Brine Shrimp Direct. Get your money's worth. Anyways, I'm looking at all this, and all of a sudden I see this. And I'm like, what? I can get a killifish on Amazon? And I was like, there's no way that this is correct. And then I was like, oh, it's in Thailand. It's called the Thailand Greenwater Hatching Company. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool for Asia, right? Like that works out. But then I just realized, like, no, look, it says ships in 3 to 4 days. You can ship it here, and you can even return it. But it's from Greenwater Farms, and it comes with killifish eggs, so you get 60 of them, and then you get catappa almond leaf, I guess. You add it to the water to make the water soft, acidic. It'll gradually break down and release tannins, tannic acids, and other substances into the water. The tannic acid will lower your pH and the pH of the water if you want to reduce the pH level in your aquarium. You can also use this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then there, I would assume, are the eggs and a little dropper. And then this kit, I think, I mean, I don't know, but I think it's full of soil or something. Oh, maybe not. Never mind. No, the soil is in this thing. And I don't know. Wait, should hatch 0.5 to 0.1 capsule. Oh, fairy shrimp eggs 1 to 2 days before hatching the killifish eggs. Use the dropper to transfer newly hatched fairy shrimp into your tray of killifish. So I guess you hatch the killifish in this tray of water. Very interesting. Now, Nothobranchius killifish, they're from, I just hit my head on my microphone. They're from Africa. And I've known that you could get killifish in the mail for years. Yeah, that's a thing. I get that. But I didn't know that you could get it on Amazon now and that they had those species. I mean, the fact that they've got Egger's Eye solid blue, that's a weird choice in my opinion, but okay. They are hardy, and Egger's Eye are one that are very, very short-lived. Like, as little as 3 to 4 weeks, they can become mature and lay eggs again, which is absolute insanity. But now I find myself wanting to order one, even though the time for the turnaround is ridiculous. And I hear they have a little bit lower hatching rate. Now, why? How did I find these, or what happened? Well, I read a study on. You can also get the blue ones, or you can get the red ones, that the Nothobranchius Egger's Eye red or blue. You can get either species or variety for $24.99 for 60 eggs. Some said that they hatch at not the best rate, and others were like, oh no, they hatch pretty good. If you keep them in the peat moss and in that kind of a vibe of peat moss and leaf litter, they're supposed to hatch much better than if you just put them in water. And what spurred all this was I was actually, and I just got offered $7 off this, even cheaper. And yeah, so okay, so I got, you could, they take the shipping off, I see. But that's interesting, right? That this company also has these Rakovi or Rakovi eggs, same exact deal. And you can just get different ones. Now, I was trying to see how many different species are out there from this brand. And I also noticed that you could buy like chlorella and chlorella powder for feeding Daphnia monea. This is like a really fine, like kind of like spirulina, which is super cool. You know, if you need to source it. Also, they have monea or Daphnia, but they have dried shrimp too. Tubifex worms, instant baby brine shrimp. Here is this, which is non-living fry larva fish food, also suitable for fish. What is the deal on this one? Baby Artemia. Please shake before use. Feed 2 to 3 times daily, as much as your fish eat in 5 minutes. After feeding, Close the bottle and keep refrigerated. Use all within 2 to 4 weeks. Okay. Anyways, interesting stuff out there. If you need to buy it, if you can't find a source of stuff out there, but you can get also rotifers. I noticed from the Greenwater Company. You can get rotifers. Aren't those cute? I can get those from my pond for free, but I think it's cute, I guess. Also, fairy shrimp, which are, kind of like brine shrimp, I guess. There's eggs right away. They get saddled with eggs. That's how quickly, they spawn. And all these things spawn like out in the desert, and they come from Africa in particular. All of this stuff, they come from Africa, and they exist in Zambia and Zimbabwe, and I believe Mozambique, and they are right on that coastal area, maybe a little bit of Kenya as well. But these are they go into suspended animation, or what we call diapause. Most killifish do. Definitely all of the annual ones. And they go into suspended animation, and when it rains, they may hatch. Now, when it rains, they may hatch the first time, or depending on the species and what part of the world they're in, they may hatch like only after the third or fourth rain, which is wild. So this gave scientists an idea, and I made a short that will be coming out, I don't know, tomorrow or something, or tonight. I don't know when it's coming out, sometime in the next couple days. And these same fish that I just pointed out, the Egger's Eye and the Ranchovy and the Egger's Eye, Forshai, I believe it's called, or Forshai. They're also sold by this company in kits. And this Greenwater Thai company of kits, you can raise them. And so it struck me in my mind, like, to Google all three types of fish: the red, the blue, the ranchovy, and the red and the blue Egger's Eye, the ranchovy, and the what's the third one was the Nothobranchius forshii or forshii, and those all popped up as these kits. And so I was like, oh, holy smokes, that is going to be because of these kits. I bet you those scientists just got their hands on these kits. Like, that was probably the easiest way for them to have a consistent source. They could have done it by breeding them in-house, but apparently they didn't want to. I don't know why. And Mick is saying that, they're not collecting them from ephemeral pools or whatever. They're in Thailand. They're African fish. So they're definitely keeping them in captivity. They're definitely spawning them in captivity. And it's a great way to make money. I mean, think about it. If you had a shoebox and you just had peat moss in there, and for half the year, you didn't even see the fish or do anything with the fish. You just had peat moss that you kept in there, and you wrote the date on it. Every month you could have another set of 2 or 3 fish ready to go, spawning out. And within a month, in most cases with like Nothobranchius, you could have them ready to sell as either adult fish, and they would live another 3 to 9 or 12 months maybe. Or you could sell their eggs again, and the eggs can stand for up to 2 years in Nothobranchius. So pretty wild stuff. But the scientists, sorry guys, I'm standing because of my back. I'm trying not to be awkward, but let me finish off the live stream with this. And, I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me, especially when, sometimes it's hard to rally the energy and I'm just feeling so, dragged down. And today I was like excited to talk. I was feeling it. I was feeling my wild oats. I don't know, that might be a weird saying, but I just wanted to hang out with you guys and chat, and also, remember or remind y'all of the affiliate codes. I know a lot of those businesses are having a hard time right now. A lot of the independent fish, even the big box stores, a lot of people are getting hit hard because it's a luxury item at the end of the day, and a lot of people got into fish and then totally got out, since the lockdowns and COVID and all that. And now it's kind of like, who's left? What's going on? And it's this very odd time. And we, my friends, us who are still around, ye who follow me, and all the other YouTube people, and anybody who has a tank, you will shape the future of what happens in the hobby, because y'all are the ones who are sticking around and our mods and our interesting people in the in the forums and nooks and crannies and corners and fish clubs. But yes, redfish, bluefish, if you live in the United States, it's redfishbluefish.shop, actually. Sorry, Nick, not .com. It's redfishbluefish.shop. But he's going out of business, and he's literally selling everything he's got. They're all European. He gets them from Aquarium Glazers, either them or one of their suppliers. So it's always very high quality stuff from him. But if you want, check him out before he closes. He got, $6.99 or $5.99 for RU2s that are fully mature. That's bonkers. $9.99 for super red bristlenose plecos that are top notch from Aquarium Glazer. That's nuts. Some of that stuff is really good deal. Shipping is always tough, but he's allowing slower ground shipping if you want to risk it. Or, if you don't, you can just say, like, I want it overnight, blah, blah, blah. But message him and let him know that Alex says hey. That's all you got to say. And maybe he'll throw in a few extra fish. He's literally told me, like, I want to get rid of, like, these cories. Like, if someone orders 5, I'm tempted to just give them, like, 7 just to hurry up this process. Like, he's trying to move. So, but anyways, you didn't hear that from me if he doesn't do it. I don't want to promise you. But he's a good guy in any case. And he's been on the show a lot. He's had his own channel. He had the Redfish Bluefish channel. Jason Blair is his name, in case you guys are curious. Like, who's this guy who owned an aquascape shop and a European fish importing front? So yeah, and it's just red fish, blue fish .shop. And let me see if I can get that HTTPS forward / dot www dot, oh wait, that doesn't need a dot there. Oh, the internet, you're so fun. So this should be it right here. So he is redfishbluefish.shop. That's it. No aquatics or anything. Yeah. I don't know if anything has. Yeah, nothing's changed. It's always been that redfish, bluefish. Not the. Well, wait. Let me double check. Now you have me wondering. Yeah, it's just redfishbluefish.shop, not even aquatics or anything. Because the .shop means that you're not competing with everyone else with the .com. Maybe he has a European address too. That could be. He might have done that. He's a real computer whiz tech guy. So I know that he has had different landing pages in like 4 different languages too at one point. So that could be. But the one for the US anyways, which is the place he sells, he was not necessarily selling to any other places, but he was buying from Europeans. And so he wanted a site that they could see and interact with fully in European. So he had these like translation versions of it. Anyways, he loves the the Netherlands and Denmark and Germany and Poland and Czech Republic and even dare I say Hungary, Ukraine. He brought in fish from all those places. Croatia, Slovenia, Slovakia. Very interesting stuff he would get. You would get lines of apistos or like geophagus or different guppies and things too that nobody had seen in the US ever. And we were like, where the hell did that come from? And the answer is like, oh, the Cold War back during the 70s, somebody in whatever, Chablinsk was, they had guppy genetics from the 60s or 50s, whatever it was, brought back, and that's what they were breeding, and that's what they worked with. That's what they had to work with. And so that's like super common to them. It's just normal stuff to them. But yeah, to us, it's like, whoa, never seen that before. So anyways, yeah, but I was wondering, have y'all seen these fish on Amazon? Like, I mean, it blows my mind. It really does. I was like, what? Yeah, it just, I mean, I don't know, guys. I'm still a little bit I don't know what to think about it. Like, are they good? Has anybody tried them? If you've tried them, tell me in the comments later, or tell me now if you're in the chat now. But yeah, there was a number of different. Let's see, can I go to the actual person who's selling them? Which I think I can. Yeah, Greenwater Farm. And we can see they have 56 ratings for this product. But, oh wait, here's more of their products. So they have triops, they have red triops, they have clam shrimp, which I think are just, ostrocods maybe? Oh no, they're Cyzicus pilosus. I don't know that one. I don't know. Daphnia, these are just normal Daphnia. Fairy shrimp, okay. Triops, baby brine shrimp. They have like brine shrimp hatchery. Okay, so they've got all these different products. They've got egg incubators. They also have this. This is interesting. For $29.99, this used to be kind of like proprietary tech, but apparently now it used to be the Hobby was the name of the brand that made this out of Germany, and now it looks like there's another manufacturer. Oh, Hobby is still a company. Okay, Hobby, yep, right there. So they've got all it needs is a desk lamp, and you can hatch brine shrimp. A tablespoon of literal salt from your kitchen you can use, and your eggs that it comes with, and then, well, eggs sold separately in this kit, I guess. It used to come with like, starter amount of eggs. And then, desk lamp, and they come towards the light in the circle in the center, and there's like a maze around this disc here. And then you have a strainer right at the center. It's a really ingenious way to hatch them, but it has pretty low yield of what hatches. But also they've got different things like here's the foreshai. There's the fish, Nothobranchius foreshai. That's the quickest living fish in history, I believe. I believe that holds the record. Rotifer eggs. So yeah, there's all sorts of stuff on here. Sea monkeys, instant fish. Okay, I think we saw all that. Okay, so I want to know though, like, who's gonna sell the next round of cool stuff? Who's gonna sell the next killifish species? Maybe Michelle Barnhill. Maybe she's gonna be on top of it. I could see her doing that with the fish she brought back from South America. Anyways, yeah, redfish, bluefish, yeah, there you go. There's the correct link. Thank you so much, Mick. And the cat is like, Daddy, give me food now or I'm going to eat your face. There are scientific suppliers that you can get live things. Yeah, definitely. You can get, you got moderated? I'm sorry. I don't think anybody intended to do that. I didn't do it. So maybe somebody accidentally clicked on something. But there is, I think it's called Carolina Supply Co. They have a whole bunch of different stuff that you can get, like Artemia and Paramecium and monkeypox. No, I don't know what they have. They have all sorts of interesting stuff, like Triops, Cyclops, Daphnia. Cat, stop with your trying to jump out of my arms, you crazy cat. ASMR, guys. ASMR. All right, you guys. Well, I am going to get out of here unless you want to continue to throw money at me to exist, which, I mean, I don't want to do that. No one wants to do that. She wants food. Throw food at her to exist. You're so cute. That sound, I could sleep with that sound in my ears. Oh, the last thing I was gonna say, my friends, my compadres, my companions, everybody who's watching the replay, if you are watching the replay and you are 2 hours and 40 minutes into this freaking replay, holy cannoli, thank you for joining me. I mean, thank you all for joining me, but like, for a replay where I'm not even live, you don't have any questions to ask or nothing. Wild. But this book, last shout out again. I'm not getting paid for this or anything. I already bought this book for $160 signed from Europe because I'm dumb and I should have just waited till it was sold in America or till I saw the guy in America at some point or go to Europe or whatever. But hey, speaking of Nothobranchius out of Zimbabwe or in Zambia, well, here's some from Cameroon. Look at all these beautiful fish that could be sold on Amazon. So this book, all the freshwater fish, all 900 pictures of fish and whatever it is, 400 and some species of fish, habitat, biotope, plants, everything you could want to know about 40 years of collecting this stuff. Different collection points of the J barb, for instance. That is a nano fish that is pretty new to the world, and yet he's got collection points from 8 places. I mean, it varies immensely, and so that's very interesting. But he also has killifish, some of which have no name scientifically yet. He's got pictures of all sorts of cool stuff in here. Now, I've linked it in the community tab. He also has a lot of these, which is showing the river itself, showing the fish, showing all the water conditions, and a story of like what happened the day he was there or the week he was there, what makes them different from the others, if they're cut off, if they evolutionarily have some odd quirk, or if they don't make nests versus if they do make nests like other cichlids and so forth, if they don't take care of things. Absolutely awesome. Freshwater fishes of Cameroon. And again, Michael Kajman. And I have on the community post tab, you guys can get it for 20% off with free shipping. And shipping was $52 for me. I paid $52 or like 30 some euros for the shipping of this damn book, which is heavy. It's a heavy, big coffee table book. But 20% off. He has the code. I think it's like, Fishery 20, but double check what the exact code is. I posted about it in the post, and also there's a review video of this on my homepage for this channel. And then the last shout out I'm going to give before he's on the channel again, Ivan Mikolji, even heavier book. This is the flora of the Orinoco, or of the upper Amazon, really is what it is. And we've got Mayaca flowering, red Mayaca in the wild. No Photoshop, no AI, no retouching. He uses the shot that he got live. I mean, he would wait and he would put like flowers or, he'd scoot a big piece of driftwood behind a little blade of grass or some moss so that it would be reflecting the daylight towards the scene. This guy is a perfectionist. He'd wait till the right time and come back and take the picture. He's got the plants. These are all aquatic plants of South America and of the Orinoco. And there's examples of what fish live within them, what they look like when they're wet, what they look like when they're immersed, what they look like when they're in between, the various relationships they have, the flowers they have. Absolutely, if you're a fish or planet aquarist nerd, this is an incredible book, just like his fishes book. And again, the code gets you 20% off if you use it. And I believe this one, let me not lead you astray. Let me make sure I get you guys the right deal. I don't want to say it wrong, but that's Ivan Mikolji, which is IVAN, and then Mikolji is MIKOLJI. He's obviously way more famous than me, a very, very good guy. He and I started our nonprofit together about 6 years ago, and he's going to come on. We're going to talk about some of that. We're going to talk about how this book is going and how his series of books are going. And we can put the book on the disc. I can try to make a post on the Discord with all this info too. Yet again, I'm not like, I haven't gotten paid to do this. Ivan is one of my best friends in the fish community, and I love the guy. Like, he's become like a big brother to me. And apparently now my internet's not working on my phone. Oh wait, here we go. Let's see here. I have cat hair on my tongue. Thanks, cat. Content. Here we go. So the videos, if you guys are looking for them, I did one in January. So people are like, oh, you haven't been doing videos. Yeah, well, this is since January, guys. I've actually done this here we go, right here. That's how many long form videos I've done, not counting live streams or shorts. So I have been still making them. It just hasn't been telling you guys about them, unfortunately. But yeah, there's a video on here called West African Cichlid, West African Dwarf Cichlids and Killifish ID Guide. And also it says Ultimate 450. Why won't this focus? It never focuses when I want it to. The thumbnail looks like, come on. Oh, now it changes. Great. Here we go. Come on. No, is that not going to focus? Just not even. Is it because it's too bright? It might be because it's too bright. Let's try that. Let's try that. Oh, yeah, I think that's going to help a little. Well, maybe not. I don't freaking know. This is just a dumb way to do it, Alex. This is a dumb way to do it. But anyways, you can click on that, and then you can go into the about it, and I will tell you right there to get the Freshwater Fish of Cameroon book, this giant fish diversity book. It's got 40 pages of mormyrids and I think like 260 of cichlids and crebensis in particular. All you do is you email Mikkel Keijman, and his email is Keijman, Keijman. I'll just type it. His email is, I'm almost going to be 3 hours at this point. Keijman at Keijman again, because that's his website, Keijman.com, and then all you got to do is message him, and he is going to be selling it for 130 euros, but you can get it for 105 euros with my discount code if you order before March 8th. Then it goes up, and it's just going to go up from there. And shipping from the UK or from the Netherlands, like I said, 54 US dollars. It's brutal. You don't want to have to pay that on top of it being a $140 book. Also, absolutely nuts. But all you need to do is in the email, you just tell him. So email Mikkel and say at Fishery. I mean, I don't know if he cares if it's all capital or what, but I don't think he'll care. But yeah, you email him just at Keijman@Keijman.com and say you want the book and say at Fishery, and he'll give you that 20% off. Instead of 130 euros, it will be 105 euros. And instead of having to pay $50 if you're in the US or Canada, you will only pay nothing for shipping, which is rad. And I I didn't do that because I got a signed copy. That being said, if you're in Europe or New Zealand or Singapore, anywhere else, you can still email him. He'll still give you the discount price off this book until March 8th. But you'll have to pay a different whatever. He'll just, tell you the difference in shipping. It's just shipping a book that weighs whatever, 5.5 pounds or 2 kilos or something crazy, is expensive. It's oversized, and it's full color, very nice, hard copy. Okay, now if you want Ivan's book, and I'm hoping to still have him on the channel soon. The thumbnail for that is right here, and it looks like this, that video I did, which is I flipped through the book and show you guys some stuff. I know you guys can't see this worth beans. Focus. Can anybody focus? No. But anyways, the other book is green and it has a fish on it, if you can kind of make that out. This one is like this more abstract kind of flora of the Orinoco. And it's still less than the price of a textbook. Yeah, and it will be worth money. I mean, these things are always worth money in our hobby. Like some of the other big books that are out there that are limited $1,000 or 1,000 numbered to 1,000 prints, like both of these are going to be. Some of the books that are out there, like Innis books and stuff. I mean, some are $600-700 easily. Some that are not even old, like Heiko Blair's Discus Volume 2. People wanted $390 for that book, which was $56 new. Absolutely wild to me. Okay, so in the description of that video, all you got to do if you want Ivan's book is use the code on his website, which is mccolgy.com. So I'll type it again because I love y'all. So you go to the https://www.mccolgy.com and then order book and apply discount code secret with a capital S, secret 20, and that will get you 20% off his book as well. And he hasn't put a date on it, but it's until he sells out the other books like that he has in this series, the other green book. So I don't know if anybody's successfully tried it, but try the discount on the old book, because he added 100 copies of the green fish book, Fish of the Orinoco. He also added 100 books of that. The next book in the series is going to be lowland flowers, orchids, plants, and stuff like that. And then I think there's going to be one on mammals, reptiles, amphibians, like animals. And then might be one on insects. He hasn't decided, but maybe not. And then the last one will be landscapes, drone shots, and like aerial views, landscape views, nature and biotope, underwater, above water. So he is going to have a either 5 or 6 book series. This is the second one. He's already editing the third one, and all the pictures have been taken pretty much, but he's having actual PhD people at every university in Venezuela, as well as all over the rest of the world. Anybody with an expertise similar to it, you know, he's definitely getting involved, and yeah, he's having them contribute, which is wonderful. But yeah, just use the code secret20. If for some reason there's an issue, you can always email him too. He's a super nice guy, and so is his sister and his wife too. Somebody, Benson Eats, $4.99 super chat. I want to build an under substrate tunnel in a planted tank. Does the tunnel floor need an anoxic layer under it, power heads to push or flow through it? I want to build an under substrate tunnel in a planted tank. Does the so what I would do is I would keep oxygen, a not anoxic but an aerobic layer of like aqua soil or something that's loose that the water can just pass through and the roots can just grow down into. And then so if you want a tunnel, I would do that. And then if you're gonna have an anoxic layer or a layer that the molm filters down into over time and breaks down, that needs to be low. It can't be something where you have open water from the water column touching the wall of the dirt where your anoxic layer is, because if you do that, if you have an anoxic layer in the soil, it's going to leach ammonia directly into your water. It's going to be like digging up a plant every day. And granted, over time, that'll just become oxygen substrate, right? But as soon as a little falls away, or a fish bumps it, or the current bumps it, or the dirt just dissolves and crumbles or absorbs water, there's problems. So I would keep it aerated. I would use a loose gravel or an aqua soil or a combo of volcanic pumice or red volcanic or black volcanic stone that's really like Swiss cheese, full of holes and light, something like that. If I were you, that's my 2 cents on it. You can experiment with whatever you want, but that's what I've learned is you don't want an anoxic layer touching a water column if you can help it. That's just asking for trouble. That's why you don't do like an undergravel filter with deep substrate. If you do that, you make a plenum, or rather a layer all the way under everything that slowly has water percolating up through all the substrate. And that way the bacteria can convert the ammonia, and the bacteria can go either way. It can turn ammonia into nitrates, which are safe for your fish, or it can turn nitrates into deadly ammonia. But in that case, hopefully that's occurring while it goes down into the anoxic layer and becomes locked or sequestered in that form, almost like a battery that the plant roots are accessing rather than it being just open to the tank. Also, 1999, Mr. Jacob, thank you so much for the super sticker. Really appreciate it. And guys, I got to get off. The cat is going nutty, nutty, nutty. And I so appreciate all you being here. We made basically the 3-hour mark. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to like yourself, to like your critters. Take care of yourself, or you can't take care of all the other things in this world that you feel obligated to care for. And if all works out tomorrow after my doctor's appointment and stuff, I will be back tomorrow with the live stream. But you know, we'll see what happens. It's been a rough go again lately, but I'm doing better in general. I'm just tired. That's how I'll put it. But I love all of y'all. And I thank all of y'all for being here, for spending time with me, and for teaching me cool stuff, sending me cool articles. Robert, I appreciate all you sent me recently. Same with you, Daniel. And I will see y'all later. Have a wonderful evening and take care. Love.